All right, we are live and we shall start. Good evening, everyone. I would like to call this Quality Life and Public Safety Committee meeting to order for today, August 18th, 2020. My name is Councilman TJ Clark. I serve as the City Council Majority Leader, and I'm joined by our committee member, Council President Mally Rosado, and also I thought I saw Councilman Sanchez. He probably will be coming back online. And then we also have an incoming Councilwoman Marilyn Rossetti as well. So we're going to get started. Hello to everyone out there in TV land that are viewing us from HPA-TV, as well as Comcast and Frontier Communications. Hope everyone is doing well, has been enjoying the summer, and has been practicing social distance and wearing their mask, and most importantly, in addition to that, washing your hands and sanitizing your hands as well. So we're going to go right in order as the agenda was published. Item number 1 is communication from Mayor Bronin with a company resolution confirming the appointment of Eric W. Crawford to the Civilian Police Review Board, which was submitted to the City Council, item number 2 on August 11th, 2020's agenda. So, with no further introduction, we'd like to turn it over to Eric Crawford, who is here to speak to the Quality Life and Public Safety Committee. You're on mute, sir.
Eric, on mute.
Sorry.
You are on mute. I hear you. We hear you now. Start over. You were muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Again, first I'd like to thank the mayor for the nomination and the council president for supporting my nomination to this this board. I've always had an interest in this board. You know, my background being that I served on the board of pardon and parole, and I had the opportunity to be trained in different areas to look at files and patterns and things of that nature. I think I could bring some new concepts and idea how that board could be ran a little bit more efficiently. And it should be a board, hopefully it become a board that the victims feel like they have some space in which they could be heard. I've always, admired the work that the city has done behind policing, but I think at this time, it really does need to go to another level, and it need to be a fair and a fair process for all involved. So I appreciate the nomination.
Thank you, sir, for that. So you have an impeccable resume, as all of us have received. So just wanted to, can you just speak a little bit to the work that you have done, especially on the boards of pardon and parole?
Well, that was probably second most, the highest position you could have in traditional. A judge can put you in, and the board of pardon and parole is the only one that can take you out before your sentence is over with. So we took that task extremely serious. It had to be a fair sense. It had to be a board in which have competent people on it, in which understood the plight of the victims and the offenders. So I think that experience, along with some of the other things I've done in the city of Hartford, in terms of running a drug program for Community Partners in Action for 15 years. So I'm well acquainted with the plight of people in Hartford and some of the struggles they deal with. Just not the everyday thing, but also their relationship with the police officers and some of the things that impacted their lives.
Great. And just what type of activities in this COVID pandemic right now are you involved in?
Other than eating, well, it's not much we could do other than I'm back at work at CREC, trying to try to create some programming, trying to motivate these kids to be more involved with the distance learning and even going to school? How do we navigate around some of the COVID restrictions to keep these kids and these parents motivated so these kids could get some sense of an education throughout this process?
Great, great. I do open up the floor to any of my colleagues for questions.
Yes, through you, Chair. I just wanted to say that actually it was an honor to refer you for the nomination of being on the Civilian Police Review Board. The citizens of Hartford, the city of Hartford, and myself, thank you for all the services that you have provided to our community. Continue to provide, and I know that you'll do an excellent job in representing the constituents on the Civilian Police Review Board. So for that, thank you, Mr. Crawford. That is all, Chair.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Mr. Chair, through you, thank you. I echo Council President Rosado's statements. Thank you, Eric.
You're welcome.
We would like to announce that Councilman Nick LeBron has also joined us as well. Eric, I think we all are familiar with your work and have in separate conversations have spoke highly about your recommendation to the mayor when he contacted some of us regarding your upcoming appointment. So thank you for your willingness to serve, continue to serve the city. And if no other questions, the chair will entertain a motion for favorable recommendation.
Yes, through you, Chair, I'd like to make a favorable recommendation for the appointment of Mr. Crawford back to council.
I'd like to second that.
Been properly motioned and second, actually. Councilwoman Rossetti, you're not a committee member, so I will. That's all right.
I forgot. Sorry. I got carried away. I take it back.
It's the excitement to hear back.
I take it back.
That's all right. We take it in spirit, but I will second the motion by Council President. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposals? Any abstentions? Seeing none, the ayes have it. And Mr. Crawford's nomination by Mayor Bronin will be referred to the City Council at our next meeting for favorable recommendation for Civilian Police Review Board member. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'd just like to add, TJ, I'd like to thank you and, all the people in the North End who supported me, the Voices, the Phoenix Society, Steve Harris, and, I just feel good about, being a citizen in this city and way people view me, and it really touched me to be in this position today to be able to make a difference through this board. So I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you, sir. Thank you again for your willingness to serve and continue helping the great residents of the city of Hartford.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Moving on, we have next on our agenda communication from Mayor Bronin with accompanying resolution confirming the appointments of Frank Barrows, Lionel Thompson Jr., Diego Lopez, Reverend Elizabeth Arpalumpum, LaShawn Robinson, Charlie Ortiz, Kyla Jackson to the Police Accountability Review Board, known as PARB, which is item 9 on August 11th, 2020 agenda. And so we do have some of the mayor's nominees here. And so we have, let's see, Diego, Kyla Jackson. Did I hear Frank?
Hello.
Hello?
Hi.
Can you announce who you are? We can't see your name.
Hi, I'm LaShawn Robinson.
Sean Robinson, okay. As Frank on? Name. Okay, so let's go with LaShawn Robinson.
Yes.
Good evening, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, we're doing well. Thank you for your willingness to serve the city on the Police Accountability Review Board. Can you just let us know a little bit who you are?
Oh, yeah. So my name is LaShawn Robinson. I'm a mother of 5. I grew up in Hartford, Connecticut. I spent some time in Georgia and came back. I basically have done a lot in trying to do education, change how education looks in Hartford. I'm an advocate for education at Hartford. I sue the state of Connecticut for the racial quotas in the magnet schools, and I'm also an activist on different levels, and been to a lot of different states and countries in my movement. I'm also the new CEO of Black Lives Matter 860 and Queen Sisters.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm a Wayfinder Fellow, and I don't know what else I could say. I go to Trinity, and I think that's about it. I'm a graduate of Hartford Parent University, and I work in a community.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you for your work that you have done, that I have seen, that you have exemplified in the community as a community advocate. So thank you also, too, for your willingness to serve. And this is exciting because this is, well, as we know, this is a new board that the City Council had created. So we are excited about the appointees being the first to really help to craft and shape the policy and other items to be under consideration regarding our police department, as well as, you know, how policies can be implemented in the city of Hartford through public safety. And I will open up the floor to any of my colleagues to address Ms. Robinson. Any questions? Okay, moving on. Mr. Diego Lopez.
How y'all doing? My name is Diego Lopez. First, I want to thank Nick LeBron for, you know, for recommending me. I'm born in Hartford, raised in Hartford my whole life. I've been working with peace builders for 10 years. I've been doing crisis response for maybe about 3 or 4 years now. I service families in crisis, victims. We work with young children and young men out in the community, servicing them with all their needs, basic needs, you know, whatever needs the family needs. I'm honored, you know, to even be recommended, you know, from where I come from to where I'm at today. You know, it's been tough. You know, I hope to continue to service the community that I grew up in, and continue to give back. You know, I appreciate it. You know, the recommendation, and it's, like I said, it's just an honor to even be in the presence of you guys right now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And also, too, thank you for your work in the community. It really shows a person's passion regarding the amount of dedication that you put into doing your work day in and day out. So thank you very much for your efforts that you have done. Any questions for Mr. Lopez from my colleagues?
No, I just want to congratulate Mr. Lopez for everything that you do over at Peace Builders. I know that you're an inspiration to a lot of our youth. So for that, thank you. And it'll be great seeing your participation on the PI board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I may, through you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Lopez, I just want to, Diego, I just want to thank you for your consistent and intentional commitment. I have nothing but the highest belief in what you bring to the table to the PAR board. So, you know, keep progressing and keep us holding all of us accountable. And thank you for all the work you do with the youth. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lopez. For the questions, we will move on to Reverend Liza Arkanova. You came in just on time.
I'm muted. Hi, I apologize for being late.
That's okay.
What's the prompt? What are we answering?
So just tell us a little bit who you are, and I just wanted to say thank you for your willingness to serve on this new created board, the Police Accountability Review Board. We are very much excited about your level of knowledge and expertise that you will bring to the table to help us reshape and reform policies regarding our Hartford Police Department and the public safety for the city of Hartford. So just please let us, for those who don't know who you are, just let us know who you are and what you bring to the table.
Yeah, of course. So my name is Liza Arlan. I'm an American Baptist minister here in the city of Hartford. My church is Riverfront Family Church, and we meet in the 224 building on Farmington Ave, Dr. Shelley Best's building, if any of you guys know her. I'm also a resident of Hartford. My husband and I live in, I think technically it's Frog Hollow, like right on the border of Frog Hollow and Berry Square on Vernon Street. We've lived here for about 6 years. I have a lot to learn when it comes to this. And so I think I'm going to start off just really listening to community members. I've gotten involved in this issue recently as a member of GIA, the Greater Hartford Interfaith Action Alliance. A number of clergy and congregations have come together to organize around policy issues that we believe our faith compel us to advocate for. And so that was my initial entry point into this, and just kind of talking about police accountability and speaking with Mayor Bronin and learning about the issues, listening to community members. So I'm looking forward to jumping in, listening and learning more about how I can serve.
Thank you so much. I was actually speaking with one of your members of GIA today, and they have always spoken highly of you. So thank you for accepting the mayor's appointment and coming before us just to say hello and let us.
And this is my sidekick, Sahana. This is one of my. Hey. I'm also a mother of 4 kiddos. This is my oldest, Sahana.
That's all right. We're training them early.
Yeah.
Training them early. So I open the floor to any of my colleagues that have any questions or just to say a word of thanks.
I just want to say thank you through you, Chair, Reverend Arlan. It is an honor to have you serve on this board. I look forward to working with all of the appointees on this board that we're all so much looking forward to hearing input from the public so we could move forward. Thank you.
Councilman?
Yes, I just also, Reverend, I'm not going to try to pronounce the last name. I'm going to mess it up. I would just say Reverend Liza, thank you for all your commitment. What I will say is that I've actually I've campaigned with your daughter there and also your husband. We knocked on doors together. So I'll familiarize myself with your children. And if they're all great and well behaved, and so, they're a reflection of their parentage. So, But anyway, thank you for your continued service and also your service with the Greater Hartford Alliance. And so we thank you for all your recommendations and continue to hold the city and us accountable.
Thank you so much. Councilwoman Rossetti.
And I lost my Wi-Fi for a little bit, so I don't know what I missed. But, not to do this every time. I want to thank everyone today who's giving their time. I mean, these are tough times ahead of us. And it's complicated and it's going to take a lot of work and effort. And I know everyone has such full lives, children, jobs, other things. So I really, really can't thank people enough. So I won't do it every single time. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now moving on is, I see Kyla Jackson on the screen. Kyla, are you there? Okay, no Kyla. Anybody else from the recommended list from the mayor on calling in as a caller? Okay, no. we already were told that there were some that were going to be making it and some that were not, which is all fine. So we will take this up as a complete package. So the chair will entertain a motion for favorable recommendation.
So with that said, through you, Mr. Chair, I would like to make a favorable recommendation for the entire packet as you stated, back to council.
Second, it's been properly motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, let all say aye. Who's in favor? Aye. No opposals, no abstentions. The ayes have it. Thank you all very much, and we look forward to working with you as the newly appointed members of the Police Accountability Review Board. So thank you very much, and this item is passed to the City Council. That will be taken up at our next council meeting. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
Okay, moving on. We will have a presentation by our great Chief of Fire, Chief Reggie Freeman. Hello, Chief. How you doing?
Chief, I believe you're on mute.
You're unmuted now, Chief.
Oh, thank you so much. Good afternoon, Mr. Councilman and Madam President and all the sirs and madams of the council, as well as all of our citizens that are listening in. Mr. Chair, I do have a presentation, and with your authorization, I will proceed to go through each slide.
You may proceed. Thank you for sharing the screen.
My 8-year-old taught me how to do it. All right, Mr. Chair. So the first item on the agenda is COVID-19, obviously. So we have been doing extremely well as a city, as well as our state in regards to COVID-19. Per the CDC, we are the only state within the union that is actually showing the state as moving in the direction of containing the virus, which that is a monumental feat. And I am very, very grateful for the leadership of Mayor Bronin, as well as the leadership of our Health and Human Services Director, Ms. Liani Arroyo, for everything that her and her team has done throughout the last 5 to 6 months. In regards to our personal protective equipment, not just for our first responders in the city, but also our volunteers that work with Director Arroyo's team, we have a healthy supply of personal protective equipment, surgical mask, N95 mask, KN95 mask, and face shields. And just for anyone that's listening or watching, the difference between an N95 mask and a KN95 mask is that a N95 mask has superior respiratory protection and it is made in America. The KN95 mask is actually made in China. So that's the difference between an N95 and a KN95 mask. We also have a healthy inventory of boot covers. So any and everything dealing with personal protective equipment from my office as not just the fire chief, but the emergency management director position, we're doing great. Self-isolation, we have regular meetings, which I'm going to speak to in just a moment, with several community partners. However, in regards to any healthcare providers or EMS personnel, such as employees that work for Aetna Ambulance Service or AMR AMR Ambulance Service, there's only one employee that is in self-isolation due to COVID-19 concerns, and that employee is with AMR. There are none with Aetna, none with the Hartford Fire Department. With our community partnerships, Hartford Hospital, St. Francis, AMR, Aetna, as well as our Region 3 Department of Emergency Management Homeland Security Coordinator, Mr. Bill Turley, we communicate on a daily basis, data sets, and then we speak every Wednesday, 10 a.m., just to go over any new information or data that may be helpful to the group. That has been consistent for the last 4 or 5 months with no issues that have arisen and a lot of resource sharing across the table from one agency to another. So that's been very helpful for us. Any questions on COVID-19 before I transition into performance management with FireStat?
I have a brief question regarding your other counterparts on bigger city sizes, such as New Britain, New Haven, Waterbury, Bridgeport. How are they coping with COVID-19, particularly Bridgeport, with the numbers I have seen regarding Fairfield County?
Those exact, I do have that information in my inbox. I can get you that information, sir, and email it immediately following the presentation. But there have not been significant increases or spikes anywhere in the state. Nothing significant or that would warrant any attention.
Good to hear.
For FireStat, the numbers, as I'm going to go through in just a moment, they look good, especially considering the firefighters have been consistently running calls. And this data is from July, which it was a very, very busy month for us in regards to fires last month. Some of that was contributed to illegal fireworks, but we had 16 structure fires last month. And you'll be able to see on one of the charts that is abnormal for us, even when we compare July 2019 and July 2018. New apparatus, as we've talked about before, the fire department is in need of station renovations. Per the NFPA, National Fire Protection Association, a study nationwide showed that the average house of every firehouse age was 44 years old. The average age of all of our firehouses is 77 years old in the city. On top of that, our new apparatus we have been pursuing and we've asked for, and the mayor has granted funding. This is the first time that anyone can remember in the fire department to where we are pursuing 4 apparatus in the same fiscal year. That has never happened before in recent memory. So we also, again, thank the mayor, we thank the council for their support in getting these critical apparatus on the street so the firefighters can do their job. We are looking to hopefully get at least 1 new apparatus per year moving forward until our fleet is properly replenished. But we're thankful that we have 2 engines that are being built by E1 in Ocala, Florida, as well as 1 ladder truck being built by E1 and 1 heavy rescue that's being built by Marion. And we should take possession of all 4 of those apparatus this fall. So looking at our data sets, this is our FireStat data for structure fires. The goal is to have the first arriving engine on scene 6 minutes, 20 seconds, 90% of the time. We obtained that goal last month with 93.75%. And again, you can see the 16 structure fires for last month alone. Next is EMS. The goal is for the arrival of the first unit within 5 minutes. 90% of the time, we had a slight declination in performance for last month. However, when you take into consideration the fire duty that the men and women had, and this being month 5 into the COVID-19 pandemic and everything that comes along with that, both personally and professionally, the men and women did extraordinarily well. And, you know, they're certainly making sure that we're doing any and everything we're supposed to be doing as professional emergency responders. So I sincerely appreciate all of their efforts. This is one of our charts for the fire marshal's office. It shows the different fires that we've had, whether it be intentional or unintentional. I'd like to point out in 2018, the month of July, we had 6 intentional fires. For July 2019, we had 8. And for this past month, July, we had 6. So 2 less than what we had last year, but on even keel with July 2018. For unintentional, however, you can see the significant spike in comparison to both 2018 and 2019. And again, a large number of those 16 structure fires or 16 fires that we had in July was due to the increased illegal firework activity that we experienced. Next is our special services unit. Even with social distancing, not as much public gathering and events that we're accustomed to and used to. Our special services unit have been doing an outstanding job by making sure that the community is engaged. And as you can see at the very top of this presentation, they distributed 3,476 water bottles in the month of July alone. That's at our bus stops, that's at our playscapes, our splash pads, anywhere there was a citizen outside and a special services unit member was driving by, they were handing out waters during those few periods that we had the heat wave last month. And I sincerely appreciate their dedication, their commitment to always stepping up and helping the community in any and every way that they can. So for our emergency response data, for EMS, we had a total of 1,711 calls. You can see the breakdown of the types of incidents here in this column. 321s, that is the majority of our calls with 910. And then if you look over to the left, you can see every NRZ and the total number of EMS calls that they had in that respective NRZ. Any questions on EMS?
What do you contribute? I'm looking at this between Asylum Hill, Asylum Hill, Frog Hollow, Berry Square, and Northeast. They look like they're the ones in orange. What's been contributed to those EMS calls?
Yeah, and that's consistent every month, Mr. Councilman. You'll see those respective NRZs that we respond to for the bulk of our EMS calls. Out of our 30,000 calls we run a year, 20,000 are EMS. And these same NRZs right down the middle, as you named, we respond there the most. It is a combination of what we like to say, myself and Director Arroyo, a combination of different social economic factors that come into play before COVID-19, and now being 5-6 months into COVID-19, there's not enough data right now for us to analyze to see if that has impacted our EMS calls. But we are looking at cardiovascular related calls, any calls related to diabetes. For the simple fact we know pre-COVID-19, those were some of the causes for our citizens to dial 911 and for the fire and ambulance providers to go out and respond to these residencies. But these numbers are not out of the norm. We typically see on average 1,700 calls a month for EMS, and typically these same NRZs at the top of the list. This is where we had this.
Excuse me, I had a question on the prior slide.
Yes, ma'am.
Chief, quick question, and just so that, and this is also for the viewers, someone just asked me this question. When we look at so is this technically July, the month of July up to now? Yes. Just July?
Yep.
So when I look at these numbers here, motor vehicle accidents with injuries, 92, and motor vehicle accidents without no injuries, 79. So in the month of July, your department has come out for almost 200 accidents?
Yes, ma'am, for 171. Yes, ma'am. And we are supposed to, now that is, like you pointed out, Madam President, that is just for the fire department. There are a few occasions to where there are motor vehicle incidents and the fire department were not called. We try to address that with ES&T, but it does happen on occasion.
Okay, because I was under the impression that you were the first responders.
We are the first responders, but on occasion, the fire department is not dispatched to a motor vehicle accident for various different reasons.
Okay, and you're saying that these motor vehicle accidents fluctuate, but usually that's what you report within a month, 200, almost 200 accidents?
No, for total EMS calls, we average about 1,700 I have not looked specifically at the motor vehicle accidents to see if that is abnormally more than what we would respond to. But the total 1,700 calls, we responded to 1,711 EMS calls last month. That's not out of the normal. But I will have to specifically look at the motor vehicle accidents to get you an accurate response for that question.
If you could, when you have a chance, please.
Yes, ma'am. No problem.
Thank you.
No problem. For Narcan, the fire department administered Narcan 26 times last month, and you can see exactly where that was done per this map. A few NRZs to where we did not go into and push Narcan, but Northeast to have 7 in Northeast, I can tell you we normally don't see those many incidents of opioid overdoses in the Northeast NRZ. Also, this information is shared with the Hartford Police Department, as well as Hartford Health and Human Services for investigation and intervention purposes. And this chart depicts all fires.
One second, Chief. I'm sorry. If you can go back to that Narcan.
Yes, sir.
What is it hasn't been broken down as to the contributing factor regarding the distribution of Narcan?
Contributing factor, sir?
Well, as to what's the cause? Well, we know the cause for Narcan, but what's the underlying factor for the overdoses in this neighborhood? Does that information get to you all? Has there been any type of investigation by with the system of Health and Human Services or PD as to why the need?
Okay, I see what you're saying. So that information would most likely be with Director Arroyo for the fire department. The most that we are involved is we respond, and if necessary, we administer emergency medical services, and then that's it. We have no other interaction with the citizen or get any follow-up information.
Thank you.
But Director Arroyo should have that information.
Councilman LeBron.
To you, Mr. President, Chief, thank you for this. So the Narcan in particular and the Northeast, I realize is an anomaly. Now, I know that you shared this with Health and Human Services and you shared it with the PD. Is there any interaction with the folks that do, or should we just assume that the folks that do that frontline intervention, like I'm thinking the GHHRC, I forgot, Mr. President, what that stands for, but the folks that deal with this directly.
Harm reduction.
The harm reduction folks and the folks that do this frontline work, would it be safe to assume that, it goes to our departments and then shared with you may not have the answer, but then it's shared with those frontline works? Because my fear is that, and I'm just going to use a term that I'm only familiar with, so I'm sorry for the lack of formality around it. What I understand from street level and what causes this is that there's a bad batch out there, right, that is causing these things to happen. And so if we don't have frontline workers to inform the people to do this work, I just want to know how that relation is. And I apologize if this is not under your purview, but that's my question.
No, Mr. Councilman, that's a great question. I appreciate it. So on a regular basis, there's so much overlap between what Director Arroyo and her team does and what we do in fire, and even what Chief Thody, Chief Medina does in PD. And at the end of the day, we're one city, we're one team, and the ultimate goal is to make sure that everyone has the highest possible quality life as they should, as they deserve. So we share information. Myself, Director Arroyo, we're constantly texting, we're sharing information in regards to opioids. Like I got a phone call from the Chief of New Haven. This was just 4 days ago, asking, hey, Chief, are you seeing a spike in your ODs? Because we've had 8 in the last 6 hours. And so I would check with my tour commander. Then I would check with Director Arroyo, saying, hey, I just got a call from the New Haven chief inquiring if we're seeing an increase in ODs because they're seeing that the heroin was laced with cocaine. as well as some other additives. So that's on a regular basis that we have those communications. And so what happens from there is Chief Thody or Director Arroyo, then they will call and speak to not only their employees, but also our community partners, such as I'm fairly certain the agency that you just mentioned, GHRC. That would be Director Arroyo's team who would have those conversations.
Thank you very much, Chief.
Yes, sir. And again, going back to the fires, 87 for the month of July. We did not have any, thankfully, in Southwest. It was a unusually active month just because of the illegal fireworks activity. But you can see here in the description the different types of fires, and the count represents the number of those specific types of fires for the month, with every NRZ giving you the total number of fires that they had. And this doesn't necessarily mean structure fire. It could be any one of these different fires, anything from a grass fire to a dumpster fire to an actual structure fire. Total of 87 different fires within the month of July throughout the city. Every NRZ impacted with the exception of Southwest, which Southwest has the highest household medium income, by the way. And last but not least, this is similar to the last slide, but this just shows you the fires in relationship to the actual firehouses. So if you see here, this pictograph with the house on fire with 12, you go here, and this tells you exactly what that incident was. Hot or smoldering object other is what this actual structure fire was. So I'll just give everybody a second to look at that, and I'll be able to answer any questions that anyone may have. The blue represents us getting on scene in 6 minutes, 20 seconds or less. And if it's red, it took us more than 6 minutes or 20 seconds to get on scene. And there is only one of those instances for last month down in the Meadows, which that fire turned out to be undetermined, which was at the plant. Yes, sir.
To you, Mr. President, again, this is great data. It's very compelling and very informative. So for the undetermined, I mean, how do we differentiate, like, if it was made intentionally, or like, how does that happen in terms of investigation? Because I see, is this normally par for the course? I see 8 undetermined. Is that normal? What warrants a further investigation to see if these things were lit intentionally? So it's just my curiosity.
So, and that's a great question, Mr. Councilman. Our fire marshals, who I believe we have some of the best in the state right here in the city, there are very strict guidelines that they have to follow as it pertains to cause and origin. And if it's remotely suspicious, so I'll give you an example. If we respond to a working structure fire and it's a 3-family home, vacant, and upon our arrival, it's already pretty heavily involved, then automatically when the fire marshal is called and he or she gets out there, they're going to most likely call the state for the arson investigation dog or get the city's arson investigation dog out. What happens when the dog walks the site, if the dog hits, and what I mean by hits, it's professionally trained to be able to smell any accelerants, any gasolines or any accelerant. If it hits, then obviously, if it's a 3-family vacant home, no one's around to answer any questions, and a dog hit on an accelerant, we can presume that it was most likely arson. If the dog does not hit and it's a vacant, and the fire marshals go through, they look at the pattern, there's no witnesses, that's an example of a fire most likely going to be deemed undetermined.
Thank you again.
Yes, sir. No problem. Any other questions?
I have one quick question. Number 12, hot or smoldering other?
Yes, sir.
What cause?
It could be a multitude of different things. It could be a piece of equipment that is a soldering tool, or someone improperly discards a cigarette and throws it against a building, or throws it in the brush and that's adjacent to a building. It could be literally anything that is hot or smoldering, whether it be inside or outside the structure, and that caused the fire.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Councilman, that is my last slide. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you for that. Anything outside of this presentation, anything else you'd like to brief the committee and other committee members, council members on that's going on in the department, if anything?
Yes, sir. Just want to reiterate that the men and women of the fire department, they continue to work extremely hard. This is going into the 6th month of us having to mitigate this global pandemic, on top of a very, very busy and active month last month in July. We're going into the fall. We have been encouraging our members to try to take some vacation time to decompress as best they can, but we also have members who families are impacted. We have members whose family members have gotten sick because of COVID-19 and even lost their lives. So I call it COVID fatigue. And I try to make sure that our members decompress the proper way, and they do any and everything that they can to have some time to themselves and some time to their family, because it can be a bit much for anyone that has to alter their lifestyle or alter the way they do things on a daily basis. And on top of that, not only with the fire duty, but we had firefighters that had to conduct CPR on a newborn baby that didn't make it. We had the very horrific motor vehicle accident, which I won't go into detail. I'm pretty sure that you're familiar with on Weatherstone. Our firefighters were there doing their jobs. But at the end of the day, they're also human beings. So I just want to say that the men and women are working hard under unprecedented times. They're dedicated to this city. They're committed to this city. And I just appreciate everything that they do, and just wanted to share that with the council as well as anyone that's listening, that they have some of the best in the business wearing a uniform out there in the streets responding to calls. That's all I had, sir.
Thank you. And I understandably, the trauma that they would experience during this time, are they taking advantage of any EAP services?
We offer it on a regular basis, Mr. Councilman, and some do take advantage of the services. Yes, sir.
That's good to hear. Thank you. Thank you, Chief, for your presentation. As always, thank you for your work, your commitment to the city, and let's continue to stay in touch as new stuff develops, as you are doing your level best to safeguard our city.
Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we have Assistant Chief Rafael Medina, who has joined us for the presentation by the Hartford Police Department. AC, how are you doing, sir?
Good. How you doing, Councilman?
I'm doing good. Don't want you to feel any type of way to feel slighted that you're the last. Just think about it. You're the last one that we hear before we adjourn. So no pressure on you to hurry up. That presentation.
I have a lot for you, Councilman.
Give it to us. Give it to us, sir.
I hope you're ready. For the spirit of time, I appreciate you having me, Council President Dotto, council members, Chief Freeman. I echo your last sentiments there about our men and women in uniform in the city. We got the best. We should be proud of them. On the fire side and the police side, with these times in the city right now, you look across the country, I'm proud to be a part of Hartford. So with that being said, I'm going to go into our citywide stats, and then I'm going to break it down by district, and I'm going to break it down by section. So I hope you're ready.
I'm ready. Give it.
Okay, here we go. All right. So citywide for the Hartford Part 1 crimes, you're aware when we consider Part 1 crimes, we look at murder, robbery, rape, aggravated assaults, burglaries, larcenies, and auto theft. So currently, year to date, we're up 0.6%. That's 0.6% year to date. But over a 4-year period, we're actually down 27.8%. So this year compared to last year, we're plus 18. 2,868 in 2019 compared to 2020, which is 2,886. And you're gonna ask what's driving that uptick in the city here. So we look at it citywide. Robberies up 8.1%. Aggravated assaults are up 7.2%, and auto theft is up 19.7%. Historically, over the last 4 years, though, robberies down 40%, aggravated assaults are down 1%, and auto theft is down 27.7%. And the big question here is, what about the homicides in the city? I know that's it's everyone's mind here. Compared, one homicide is one too many. However, 2019 at this time we had 19. Right now we're currently at 16. So moving into Northwest District, which entails Blue Hills, West End, and Asylum Hill, murders are up 66.7%. Crime as a whole, Part 1 crime, is up 3.1% and down 17.7% over the last 4 years. Aggravated assaults are 4.6, larcenies are up 0.3%, and auto theft is up 66.7. You're going to see a recurring theme in the city here when it comes to these Part 1 crimes and auto theft. I just want to preempt you on that. Murder, like I said, Northwest. At this time last year, we were at 3. We are currently at 5. For Northeast, which encompasses Northeast, Upper Albany, Clay Arsenal, North Meadows, we are down 2.1% in Part 1 crimes and down 29.3% over a 4-year period, which is huge. But what's driving that uptick to the 2.1%, even though we're down 2.1, is robberies are up 31.6 and our auto thefts are up again 31.6% as well. So there's that recurring theme again with auto thefts. Now, as we move into Southwest District, crime is up, Part 1 crimes are up 8.8% and down 34.3% over a 4-year period, which creating that uptick in 8.8% in the Southwest, which is, like I said, Parkville, Frog Hollow, South Green, Behind the Rocks, and Southwest, is robberies up 10.3%, aggravated assaults are up 27.5%, burglaries are up 25%, and larcenies are up 5.9%. Each district has its own unique variables when it comes to crimes and crime stats in the city of Hartford. And last but not least is Southeast, which is our downtown, Sheldon, Charter Oak, Berry Square, South Meadows, and South End. Crime in the Southeast is down 6.9%. It's down 22.5% over the last 4 years. However, our murder rate in the Southeast is up 66.7. 2019 was 3, 2020 it's 5. Robberies up 24.3, our burglaries are up 1.4, and our auto thefts are 18.2%. So looking at the districts as a whole, what's creating the uptick in crime in the city? My biggest 3, outside of homicides, because one homicide is one too many, is our robberies, our aggravated assaults, and our auto thefts. But moving on, getting back to our homicides, we are down, like I said earlier, that we're down 15.8% from 2019 compared to we got 16 right now in 2020. So we had 19 last year, we're at 16 this year. Of those 16, we've closed out 12 by arrest, and we have 4 that are active. Investigations soon to be closed. Another big concern of mine in the city here is our fatal motor vehicle accidents. Speeding and things of that nature. In 2019, we had 15 at this time. Currently, we're at 12. We're down 0.2% in the city when it comes to fatal motor vehicle accidents. We closed 5 of those 12 accidents. 3 of them are operator deceased at fault. 2 have been closed by arrest, and we have 7 that are active, which we hopefully close soon. But now getting back to what's pushing our crime, auto thefts. Just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with in the city here. Over the past 4 weeks, we have recovered 119 stolen motor vehicles in the city. Those are stolen motor vehicles that were taken from towns outside of Hartford. They weren't stolen within Hartford. We recovered cars as far out as Brewster, New York, in the city of Hartford that we need to look at. For cars stolen within the city of Hartford, we are at 44, and we recovered 17 of those. We have a problem with juveniles stealing vehicles in the city and using them for nefarious means. We apprehend them, we issue juvenile summonses, and then we release them. And that's the issue when it comes to stolen motor vehicles and juveniles. And if you have any questions, please stop me anytime, and I'll gladly answer. And then moving on to our intelligence unit. With Intel, we continuously work with Project Longevity to reach out to individuals in the community who have been victims of shootings and or potential shooters to identify them and make them aware of the repercussions of their actions or moving forward. So we make sure we're dealing with that. And we've also partnered with other city departments to include fire and license inspections to deal with illegal gatherings and shutting down those. That was instituted this week, and hopefully we can move forward with that and deal with those gatherings. And last but not least, getting back to the speeding issue and the racers in the city. Our traffic unit, which is a 10-man unit, has made 2,758 motor vehicle stops this year. Of those, they've issued 1,387 infractions. And the core of those are for our moving violations. Speeding, 346. Distracted driving, 151. Seatbelt violations, 176. Stop sign violations, which is a huge problem in the city, and which most council members have brought to our attention, 284 infractions. Traffic signal violations, running the red light, 362. 762 other, and then 145 DWI arrests, driving while intoxicated. Just to let you know that, that's a 10-man unit. And that's not including the rest of the citywide department trying to address these issues. And as for motor vehicle accidents, our 4-officer unit that does traffic crash unit investigations, they've conducted 522 investigations for a day in the city for 4 individuals. So that's just a great task for them. So that's a quick overview of the city and how we're doing here in the city. But if you have any questions, I'm open, and I'll turn it back over to everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you, AC. Thank you for the information. If you can just forward us the CompStat report that you were reading from, that would be great for us to just take a dive into it a little bit deeper. But I wanted to speak to you specifically about the number of increased shootings that we have seen in the city. Has it been determined as to what is behind the shootings? Why are we seeing such a uptick in shootings? Is it retaliation? There was quite a bit in the last few weeks, but has your team actually, I'm quite sure that you have, but have you come up to what a type of conclusion yet regarding that?
Shootings happen for various reasons.
Okay, thank you for that. I see you, Councilman. In regards to traffic enforcement, I know, speaking with the chief, and please send him our regards. He indicated that new additional trailers were going to be purchased to help out with the speed enforcement. We understand that there was a partnership with the Department of Motor Vehicle, can come in a couple of weekends to help out with some of the street drag racing, and as well as the other cars with the overly loud exhaust pipes, which they are still parading around the city. Is there any talks about the Department of Motor Vehicles coming back in to assist with some of those traffic enforcement issues, in addition to some of the more I'll say smaller cars that are speeding in some of our on our streets in the main arteries?
Oh, we're in constant contact with DMV, and they're a great partner with us. We reach out to them. They're more than willing to come in and help us out with these initiatives. We have our speed grants going on right now. We did one this past from August 10th through the 13th on Maple Ave, Scarborough, Tower, Reverend Moody overpass.
I saw the Scarborough one last week. I saw the Scarborough one last week. That was a good one because you really caught some people by surprise. I just happened to be traveling the opposite way, so.
Yeah. So, they're more than willing. So DMV is a great partner with us, and we'll keep including them, and we'll keep using them with these initiatives. And it's been working so far. So it's a great partnership with DMV.
Yeah, I will say I witnessed this myself. There is a lack of respect for stopping at a stop sign because I witnessed in front of me an accident with some elderly residents, and then it was basically a hit and run. The people who hit the car, they took off running. Kudos to the police department because they responded instantaneously. Not sure they actually apprehended the motor vehicle operators, but that's the type of lawless behavior that we're continuing to see in our city. So I would support increased traffic enforcement regarding some of these main areas that we see a high violation. Councilman LeBron, you had a question?
Through you, Mr. President. So, AC Medina, how are you?
Good. How you doing, Councilman?
I'm well. So thank you for your service and your continued dedication to our communities. The first question I have is that piggybacking off of Majority Leader Clark's, the uptick in the North End, what I've been hearing from constituents and from young folks is that the shootings in particular are related. And I don't know if we call it gang or neighborhood versus neighborhood. I know that there seems to be a calm, but what residents are feeling is that it's the calm before the storm. And I realize that it's the intel, like we don't want to deliver too much intel, right, through this public forum, but like just out of curiosity, are you guys, number one, aware of it? And then number two, like how do you normally combat that?
We are aware of it, and between Intel and our Intel division and our violent crimes unit, we're constantly looking at our social media sites because everyone likes to talk on social media. We're well aware of that. It is what it is, and then our community, people are willing to speak to us and let us know what's going on. With that, we put that together and we try to reach out to these individuals who have been victims of shootings or potential shooters, and that's where Project Longevity comes in. Doing these custom notifications, reaching out, knocking on the door, saying, "Hey, you might have been a victim, or you might be a potential shooter," and say, "That's not probably a good idea for you to do right now because you're on our radar." And I'm probably going to leave it at that when it comes to our list of individuals. But just to let you know, we are monitoring the situation. We have our individuals identified, hopefully, and with the help of the community. Go ahead and make sure we can hopefully prevent something even worse.
Yeah, so it's great that you're involving community partners, and definitely what I will say is the likelihood is they're probably not watching this right now. But nonetheless, all right. But the second thing is we've seen time and time again on the Flatbush and Saybrook. That stop sign seems to be continuously ignored. I know that Director Looney at DPW have some long-term measures, but I do know effectively a couple of weeks ago, there was a traffic, I don't know what you call it, like set up there where you caught numerous people and it seemed to work. But the increased passing of the stop sign has, again, is there any movement or intentional efforts to be proactive in that area again?
We have to actually address the concerns of the city as a whole. So as you identify them to us, we shift our resources. We have a lot of community partners who are saying that we're running stop signs in Flatbush, we're running them over here. this part of the city and that one, and we try to adjust our traffic unit. It really comes down to the partnership with the community and constantly reaching out to us saying, is this an issue? And then reaching out to our partners in the city saying, how do we address that area? If they're running stop signs, you know, is it more traffic enforcement, or is it some type of signage issue, or is it some type of road issue? Those are things we have to look at. You know, I only have 10 officers in traffic. You know, so they're constantly moving through the city at the request of, you know, city council and other members. So I think that, you know, to make that permanent, I need your help.
Lastly, I'm sorry but just, you know, recently we were made aware of some property damage on the HPD Lab. And I was curious as to say, you know, what is the plan to, you know, remediate so that way it doesn't happen again? And number one, and did we also catch the individual as well?
First and foremost, you know, I got the call on Sunday morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I actually physically came here to see the damage that was caused to the public safety complex. Now, when individuals look at it in the paper, they refer to Hartford Police Department. This is not a Hartford Police Department issue. This is a ES&T, fire, and a Hartford Police Department issue because we were all victims in that crime. This is our building. It's the public safety complex. It's not just Hartford PD. Obviously, the vehicles targeted were 10 police cruisers. However, 6 civilian vehicles were targeted in there, 4 of which were police officers. They're civilian vehicles, they're POVs, personal vehicles. But you had 2 dispatchers' vehicles that were also targeted as well. So going forward with that, the issue with the gate that has been malfunctioning for quite a period of time, the request has been made to be fixed. It was made back in August of 2018. My belief is that there's an internal audit being done. Information has been forwarded through that internal audit that you might want to look into to determine where that lies when it comes to the fixing of the gate and or gates, I should say. But however, you know, a little disheartened with that one. A little disheartening. And the individual was caught, the 17-year-old juvenile that was caught. We caught him in the act. And fortunately for us, we had individuals here who knew how to get the spray paint off of cars. So that way the cars weren't permanently damaged. But the building, if you come by today and look at the front of it, you'll still see the remnants of somebody's actions for whatever reason, based on a narrative of what's going on around the country. I always say today, Hartford is a very fortunate city that we don't see what's going on across the country here in the city. But little actions like that, if condoned, can spark something. So we all need to take a step back and, you know, thank everyone in the city who's doing a great job, but also look at what could potentially happen.
Thank you, AC. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief. Quick question. Going back to the traffic enforcement by the traffic department, you said you only have 10 members of the traffic division, correct?
Correct.
And so if you're doing speed enforcement, what's the number of officers it takes for typical speed enforcement for, let's say, a couple hours during the day versus doing it, you know, at night?
Well, we could break up our shifts. We could move them around. It depends on the area and what you're looking for. You could do 2-man teams. You could do 4-man teams. You could do roving patrols. It depends on what the initiative is and what you're looking for. If you're doing a DWI checkpoint, that's going to take up the 10 guys. The patterns have to be set up. Then you bring out the BAC mobile and then cones and, you know, make sure everyone's safe going through those. If you're doing spot checks, you could do a 1 or 2-man team. It depends on what's being requested of us at the time and what you're looking for.
Just to throw this out you know, we still have some of the, I think it was back in 16, we passed the ordinance about not blocking the box on certain intersections. And we know that there are still some of these major intersections that are still being blocked. I would recommend when it is possible to have a couple of your members of the traffic enforcement team monitor some of those boxes. Not in particular I know downtown is always one, but more so on that Farmington, Asylum, I think that's Broad Street area. I just happened to witness it yesterday, matter of fact, which could have been a bad accident, but thank goodness for good driving behavior by individuals.
Now, I mean, imagine what you're seeing now, and the city's not at full capacity due to COVID.
Right.
That's the one uptick.
Any questions, other questions from colleagues regarding the presentation? Councilwoman Rossetti?
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Chief Freeman. Thank you, Chief Medina. Again, we know just the immense amount of work that goes on every day and what has been going on during COVID, and it's just so much appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you.
Through you, Chair, I just like to express my sentiments, like Councilwoman just said. Chief Freeman and AC Medina, the City of Hartford is very lucky to have you both on board. I know that you guys are both passionate and work crazy amount of hours, and for that, we thank you, and to the men of the fire department and to our police department. Please know that we support you 100%. So continue on doing what you're doing and keeping our city safe. And with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Chief Medina, that is, right quick, as a same question I asked Chief Freeman, and I understand that there is a whole lot of stress that is on the plate of our public safety officials. How was members of the Hartford Police Department coping with still operating in a global pandemic? And are they being afforded time for vacation or just to take a break, and also to EAP? Are they taking advantage of those programs?
We're trying, and that's one of my biggest concerns is the welfare of the men and women of the Hartford Police Department. You know, we're going through trying times. Like I said before, we went from a time where we were the most beloved agency in the country, pandemic-wise, to the most criticized based on the events in Minneapolis. Through these civil unrest and the recent events of the storm that came through the city of Hartford, where we were nonstop for 4 days straight with power lines down and trees down. And I appreciate Chief Freeman. We were in contact, and he was a huge proponent for getting Eversource out there to relieve. We got 30 sites we sat on for 4 days. It's been, and then with, as you know, Weathersfield Avenue corridor going on down there, the street racers going on. We have these house parties going on in North End. And when you staff a department on a weekend, 100 officers a night out of 430 officers, it's going to take a toll. It takes a toll. And you got to figure out how we get them time off. And then you throw in the recent fatal motor vehicle accident where we had on Weathersfield Avenue to be exposed to that. And, I spent 12 years in major crime. And you see things that the average person doesn't want to see. The average person doesn't know. Chief Freeman spoke to it earlier. It takes a toll. And I'm a big proponent of EAP. I'm a big proponent of counseling for our men and women in this police department because, it hits home. And, we all need to take a step back and say, hey, FD, PD, ES&T, EMS, These are trying times. And I support the men and women in this police department 110%. They are the best in the world. They work hard. So I'm an advocate. I constantly reach out to them, try to get them to talk. And we got to figure out a way how not to have them working so much on a rotational basis. We are doing it. But to let you know that what these men and women are going through, that's what they're going through right now.
Understood. Thank you so much. Also, too, and please excuse me, I did want to say as well, thank you to Chief Freeman and emergency management regarding the response to the tropical storm. Were very instrumental, as well as HPD, on helping out the residents of the city for getting power, working with Eversource to getting the power restored to many properties, and also to you, Chief Medina, and your team. I saw the number of down trees or down wires, and being all day, all night in this type of situation. Thank you for your service to the city and the public safety of our city. We do owe you a big thanks continually for your efforts. Seeing that we don't have any other business to discuss that's on our agenda, would like to say thank you very much for attending the Quality of Life and Public Safety Committee meeting. This council committee meeting is now adjourned. Have a good evening, and we'll see everybody next month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Thank you.